Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
This is William. Happy to be in the lucky position of being the. Of course, we are here because of the Gladiators Cycling Club. In respect of the Osagyefo cycling race, which we've been organizing for the past 3 years. William is my name, as I said. I'm the chief gladiator of the Gladiators Cycling Club. So currently the president of this executive council. Now we decided to realize our idea of honoring Osagyefo through the organization of annual cycling race, which we started in 2021. And so this year is actually the third edition of the Osagyefo cycling race. And needless to say Osagyefo never dies. So we felt that one of the ways to perpetuate the good works of Osagyefo was to organize this race in Ghana. And as you can see today, the events in Niger and all over West Africa is very a vindication of Osagyefo's concept of African unity and how far it would take Africa as a continent. So many decades after his death, his works and his ideas are as relevant today as they were decades ago. So we are just also in our own way, as I said earlier, trying to sustain and promote the ideals of Osagyefo. This year is the third edition. And we realize that the media is a key element in propagating or disseminating any ideas that we believe should be associated with the cycling race. So we decided that it's the first time we are doing this to get the media together so we can share some content with you, both technical, educational content about cycling and about the race, so that we, in the process, we enrich our knowledge about cycling, because cycling, just like any other sport, is very technical in terms of the sport itself. I'm sure we all know about soccer. We know about the formation, the 4-3-3, and all the different. So with cycling too, cycling also has its own science and its own technology and diction and all. So we felt that it would be a good idea for us to meet the media, because you are the ones who will carry the best position to carry the message out to the general public in Ghana as a matter of fact, internationally and worldwide. So that is the essence of the meeting today, to share ideas about what we intend to do this year, and also to educate ourselves on cycling as a whole, so that in the course of sending out and disseminating the message, we are able to do that with a lot of distinction and clarity, so that our work and our mission is made clearer. So I'll take this opportunity to thank all of you for coming here this morning to support our noble idea. We hope that this will be the beginning of a long-term relationship between us and those of you who are here today in the media, and hopefully through that we'll be able to grow in size in terms of the projection of whatever we intend to do. So thank you all for coming here this morning. I hope that it will be a very fruitful exercise this morning. Thank you all very much. God bless you. God bless you.
Okay, so I think we would like to know who is here today. So maybe you can just quickly introduce yourself, your name, and the media house you are coming from.
I'm Larry's Vision from Medellin.
Michael Insignotri, J20 Stanford.
I'm Suleiman from the Gladiators.
I'm Kuku Van der Poel from the Gladiators Cycling Club.
Charles from Gladiators.
Cookie Van der Poel from Gladiators.
Andrew Kankan, Gladiators.
Immortal, the question.
Alright, so we'll just jump right into it. In terms of additional intros, your speakers for today will be myself, Charles Nkrumah. I'll double up as the MC as well, and I'll kind of coordinate the sessions. To my right is Kuku, who is the lead organizer for today's event. She'll also share a few words. But on my left are the brains of the organization, and we'll speak more in depth about the technicalities of cycling, from the racing to the bikes, and then we'll finally have a deep dive into the Osagyefo event itself. Right. So today this will be the agenda. I do note that as media men, you tend to always bring your pen and paper, which is great. But do know that we will make available the slides for you, so don't feel the need to have to jot everything down. But we'll share this with you right after the session. Right? Okay. So jumping right into it, I'll kick off and then maybe give a bit more into your understanding about cycling. I'd like to stand actually. It helps me think better on my feet. And so, what I thought I would start off by doing is sharing some fun facts, right, about cycling in itself. So we thought it was great, right? Because one of the two things, one, to talk about Osagyefo, the race and all, but also that would be a good opportunity to talk about cycling itself. When Kojo was speaking, he spoke about the technicalities of cycling, right? I listened to the radio on my way to work, and you will definitely hear about football, something that's happening. But very rarely will you hear about other sporting activities, right? And it's largely because of the audience. There's a greater audience for football, and we understand that, but it's always nice to hear what else is happening in the world, right? So we want to start off by giving you guys some insights as to what cycling is, what's happened in the past, why cycling is the way it is, before we then get into the Osagyefo bit of it itself, right? So we can move on to the next slide. Cool. You're my man, right? So much to it. I'm not looking good, but please focus on that. One this, right? All right. So starting off, 1868 is when the first cycling sport was established. Right? Before then, obviously, people are trying to make bicycles and things like that. But when the sport itself started, was back in 1868. They say it's France in Paris, but at least that's what it's reported as. So whoever reported it first happened to be the one who takes the claim, right? Tour de France, the most popular cycling event, is not the equivalent of the World Cup, but it's the equivalent of it's the most biggest private cycling event in the world, right? Funny enough, it actually started from a newspaper. They needed to sell media out. They needed to sell more subscriptions, and one of the ways they thought of doing that was to bring people together. And so they started a cycling event. This was back in almost 100 years ago, right? 100 plus years ago, 120 years ago, precisely. 120 years ago, exactly. It started, so 120 years in the making. The videos that you saw before we started the program was of the Tour de France, as you see how extensive it's become. Speaking of Tour de France, it actually is the most viewed event in the world. 12 million spectators. So when you saw the video, you saw people standing by the side of the road. A total of 12 million people actually come over the how many days the event? Like 21 days, right? And so about 12 million people are actually physically present. Imagine what that does for the economy of France, right? And then of course there are people who are watching remotely, like those who don't want to travel for different reasons. So that's just a bit of intro there. I'm not familiar how you guys are, but in terms of speed, this is average speed, which means that the time that they start and then they end the race, they're averaging around 45 kilometers, which is pretty fast, right? My average speed is about 20 kilometers. I'm not a pro, but I ride very fast, faster than everybody else here. That's what it is.
That was a joke.
Enter laughter. No, hold on. So, ironically, it actually was one of the 9 sports that was added to the Olympic Games very, very early on. And what I also found was an interesting part was it was actually recorded as a race back in Boston, the US, in 1878. Right? Those are 13 clear years before basketball itself was invented. Right? So it's been there for a long time, and it's fairly big, but it's been largely abroad. Right? So that's an interesting fun fact. Some images here. What you see here, you may have seen in the videos as well. What they call the velodrome. Right? Essentially, it's a dedicated space for competitions. I think there's probably like 2 in Africa only, but there are quite a number abroad. Right? So go to the next slide. Right, this slide here, I'm going to talk about the FIFA equivalent for cycling. Right, so we know FIFA to be the governing body for football. UCI is the governing body for cycling. If it was purely translated in English, it should have been ICU, right? Which should have been the different name because it's International Cycling Union, but because it was established in France, it's the reverse Union Cycliste Internationale. But essentially founded back, 120 years ago, and the headquarters is based in Switzerland. Ironically, the headquarters is based around one of the premium cycling velodromes in the world. Right? They have federations, which means that they have 203 countries that are members of the UCI. Essentially, if you think about it, the number of GFAs or the number of federal football federations, right, globally is equivalent to how many have actually subscribed. What they tend to do, next slide, is their job is largely to focus on a number of things. They decided what the disciplines are in the world. At the time that I started cycling in 2019, cycling esports was not one of the disciplines, but it came on. Right? So these are currently the disciplines that people partake in: road, track, mountain bikes, BMX racing, freestyle, cyclocross. Maybe towards the end, I'll show some different videos as to what each of these look like, right? So you can better appreciate it. But they're just different disciplines. Now, for all of these disciplines, they're disciplines for normal abled cyclists, and then those that refer to them as paracyclists. They don't like to use the word handicapped, right? For those of us doing the course in UCI, we're told that the word handicapped is a bit more derogatory, but it kind of takes away from the ability to achieve. And so para refers to people who may have some disability on them, but they're also partaking in active sports, right? So they provide the rules of governance, but they also, because of their vision to want to project cycling across the world, they spend a lot of time doing two very important things. One, they actually create the championships themselves, right? So you guys may not know, but as we are speaking, there's actually a world championship happening in Glasgow, Scotland, right now, right? It's just the equivalent of the World Cup for cycling happening, and it happens every year actually. So last I think was Australia, the year from another place. One of these days will happen in the continent of Africa and give us a lot of mileage. Right? So they have a number of events that they organize, but they also encourage countries and private organizations to create their own events that they then come and regulate, they can ensure that there's fairness in the event. Case in point, Tour de France. Right? They don't organize it, but the officials who supervise. The second thing I found most important that we as gladiators and as Ghana's Cycling Federation have benefited is really the solidarity programs, right? So what they tend to do is from time to time they realize that because cycling is such a technical discipline, those who are not athletes need to be trained. Whether it's so the equivalent of a referee in football would be what we call a commissaire in cycling, right? To ensure that people are not using bicycles that are cheats. So today we have things like e-bikes, bikes that have electronics in them that can help you move faster. That's not allowed in a normal race, right? Because you don't have an advantage over this. So there are commissaires, referees whose job is to ensure there's fairness, whose job is to time and do a number of other things. And because they're very technical in nature, they provide training programs, right? For individuals. I myself partook in one of those training programs for the paracycling, which was great. And the reason I bring this up is because they are conscious of the geographical resources across the continent. So for Africa, they actually gave us pro bono courses. Ordinarily, you would have paid for such a course for about 6,000 euros, right? And you then have to fly there to do the course. And so they do this thing to help train. But it's not just the referees, the commissaires, but also for technical people. And so they will talk about that later on. But those who need to learn how to manage, maintain, repair, and replace bicycles, it's really important, right? Especially when you're buying the kind of bike that are found less about 13,000 euros and things like that. Just joking, right? Those bikes.
You are not joking, sir. Please, you are not joking.
Some people have the ability, that's where they pull it off, but those bikes are obviously not cheap, right? And the reason the bikes are so light is because how they're constructed. I won't take Swiss glory away, but essentially because of the cost of those bikes, you want to have specialists taking care of it. You really see somebody who has a bent going to some 2x4 mechanic to try and error on his car. That wouldn't happen, right? And so there are a number of programs that they do worldwide to help encourage cycling. They also sometimes sponsor federations by giving them bicycles so that their teams can partake and things like that. So that's largely what the UCI tries to do, right? But this is on the global stage. Next slide. Ghana, ours is the Ghana Cycling Federation, right? And we work very closely with them. Their job is very similar to UCI. I mentioned about all the federations that are members of UCI, right? Every federation has a single vote when it comes to the national or the international congress, right? So that means that they have this congress and have to vote on different things, whether it's elections or passing on new laws or regulations. And Ghana has one vote. Other countries also have one vote. Some countries have more than one vote because of press conference or early politics, let me put it that way, right? So theirs is really largely to promote cycling, but also provide the regulation. The way they provide the regulation is really when you invite them officially to a race that we done for cycle, they come in and ensure that the timing solutions are what they should be, that the distance that you're racing. So, for example, and we get this question every year: why is Osagyefo Criterium as long as it is, right? Per UCI regulations, the distance for a race determines a number of different factors, right? So if you want to, for example, if you want to do a 100-kilometer race, which is a criterium going around the same place, it means that each loop has to be at least 6 kilometers, between 6 and 8 kilometers. is any shorter than the actual reduce the overall length of the race, right? But these cycling companies like also, so someone like Cycling Federation will come and observe these things to help you do the timing, and they can also certify. This year, they're helping take some races a notch higher. They're ensuring that all the professional cyclists have what we refer to as a UCI license. It's essentially your ID number as an athlete, your global ID number, right? So that when you do partake, UCI can recognize that you're an athlete who's partaking in these events. It also helps reduce, fraud cases where people who are not, actual cyclists come and appreciate things. But essentially, that's what the Cycling Federation does, and they at all our events since the beginning. A great honor to have. So that's GCF. We're not represented from them today, but we'll be at the event. I think this was one of the races that Ghana took part in. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm glad this is the end of my session. I don't like talking plenty, unlike somebody I know. And at this point, I'll hand over to Suleiman. I put this picture here, but I was so amazed by how thick the thighs are, right? I mean, this is heavy duty training. All right, so Sule, the floor is yours. Sule will take us through bicycles and then the types.
There are so many disciplines when it comes to cycling, which Charles mentioned. So we are not going to talk about all of them now. These are the four main ones that usually happens down here. That most of the time, when the Ghana Cycling Federation are going for international events, these are the ones they partake in. The time trial, which is the TT, the track, the mountain bike, and the road bike. Okay. So the time trial is a bike which you don't race against someone, but you race against time. It's on a closed circuit mostly. So you start with intervals. Maybe you start at 10 o'clock, the next person start at 10:05. But at the end of the day, we look at the fastest person who covers that particular set of distance. And the distance for time trial is not more than 50 kilometers. Mostly you find it to be like 30 kilometers, 20 kilometers, 10 kilometers. It's very short, but it's very intense. And they have particular set of bikes they use for that. So if you look at this bike here, it's not a normal road bike. This has a rest bar where you can rest your arms on it. It doesn't drop. This one is like you are sleeping on it, and the back wheel itself is covered. Air doesn't go through it to make it more fast. It's more aerodynamic than the normal road bike. So that is about the time trial bike. And this guy races for Ghana. He's based in the UK. It's Chris Simons. So he raced, I think, 2 days ago for Ghana. Yeah. With the helmet. Everything about this is aero. So it's just like aeroplane. Cuckoo. This is a good look of the time trial bike. And this bike costs more than $15,000. This particular kind of setup, it costs more than $15. Okay, so this is the track. This picture, let's talk about the picture. This is a track, a velodrome, where these track bikes are riding. Track bikes are like road bikes, but they don't have gears. They are road bikes without gears. And the tires, they have this kind of smooth tires that you cannot ride it on the road. If you go on the road, if there's water or oil on it, you slip. So they are only riding on the velodrome. They don't have brakes. The brakes are in the gearing. So after you are done, you've crossed the finish line, you have to go round slowly till the bike slows down for you to stop. And the track, there is no track in Ghana, but we have track cyclists in Ghana. They travel to Nigeria to go and train. That's in Abuja. That's the only place there is a track in West Africa here. So the Ghanaians make use of that. And last year, one of our pro cyclists represented Ghana at the world level in track. Okay, this is a good look of it, of the track bike. It doesn't have gears, no brakes, nothing. It's just a bike with a chain, nothing here. Just the free wheel and the chain ring. That's it. Okay. Yeah.
The weight of the bike.
The time trial bike, it weighs mostly under 8 kg. And the track bikes, some of them are aluminum with carbon fiber, so some of them are a bit heavier. But let's put it at 8 to 9 kg, nothing more than 10. Okay, so back to the mountain bike. The mountain bikes are the bikes that I would say we all know. We all know what the bikes we see out with the big tires. These bikes are designed to be ridden on rough terrains, and when it comes to the UCI level on the race, they race them on loose road, single tracks in the bushes, single trails. That is what they are used for, and that's mean they're riding somewhere every in the pineapple farms. Yes. So that's about the mountain bikes. Okay. Kuku back. This mountain bike is a hardtail. It has one suspension in the front, but there's no suspension at the back. So this is a hardtail. Okay, this is a full suspension mountain bike. It's still a mountain bike. That this is more comfortable because it has a suspension in between. So there's a suspension in front, there's a suspension here. So it's a full suspension mountain bike. Yeah. So back to the main thing. This is a road bike. This is what we are here for. So Osagyefo Criterium, we only use road bikes. No track bike, no time trial bike, no mountain bike. It's only road bike. And this road bikes is just like the track bike, but it has gearing and it has brakes. These have smaller tires. The tires are very narrow. If you see a road bike, the tires are very narrow. And this bike can hold speed of 50 kilometers per hour. It depends on how strong you are, but you can hold 50 kilometers per hour for like 30 minutes on this bike if you have a flat surface. And the weight of this bike are mostly on the UCI level. It shouldn't be below 6, but there are some of the bikes which are illegal. They are under 6 kg. This is a carbon fiber. It doesn't have any weld. It's molded with carbon fiber, so the whole frame is carbon fiber. And there are aluminum ones as well. There are titanium ones, but the carbon fiber tends to be more expensive. The aluminum ones are like entry level for beginners. So if you want to get into the cycling, you can start with the aluminum one, which is better because if you fall with that, you don't mind, you are not scared of it getting broken. But with the carbon bike, it's expensive. Once it's cracked, you have to get a professional to fix it. And down here, getting someone to work on that is very difficult. You have to ship it out. And this bike, the prices are from $2,000 upwards. So it depends on what you want on the bike. It can go all the way to $17,000. Okay, so this is a picture of a road bike, and this bike itself is being ridden by a world tour team, which is they take part in the Tour de France. This particular brand has won Tour de France, I think, 5 times in a row. 5 or more, no 7. From Wiggins, Chris Froome, 7 times in a row. This particular brand, so it's very, very expensive because of the Tour de France wins they have. They don't have them in aluminium, so you won't see a Pinarello in aluminium. They are all carbon fiber, and there is no Pinarello which is under $5,000. Depends on the group set on it. The prices are, the average price is 10,000. Okay, so this is if you look at this picture, this is a race in Ghana here. It happened I think 2 months ago, the 3FM Tour de Ghana, from West Hill Small to Chapel Square in Cape Coast. If you look at this picture, you see that all the cyclists are together. You ask yourself, why are they all together? Why wouldn't someone, why wouldn't someone go somewhere? There should be space. If someone falls now, you all fall. Okay, so the sense behind this is, the whole park is called peloton. The sense behind this is, those in front here, they are, taking the wind, like they are shielding those at the back. So these guys in front, exposed to the wind, are using more effort than those at the back. So if you are at the back, you are resting. You might be coasting, and the person in front is using, more energy than you. So like being at the back saves you like 50% of your energy. So this is a peloton, the whole group, where there are a lot of cyclists. If there are 100 cyclists, where they are like 20 solid in front, not like those at the back. 20 solid group, where you see the potential winner. That's a peloton. Okay, so in the peloton, if someone tries to, jump ahead to go for a win, if one or two people try to move ahead of the peloton.
So like, we have a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Regarding the film,
Yeah.
who decides who should be in front?
It's a teamwork. Go back up. So it's the whole game is like a teamwork. You have teammates. Every competition you go in as a team, at least members of 8 to ride for a team. So this guy being in front here, no one asked him to be there. He felt he is strong, so he want to be there. Maybe the pace at the back is slow, so he's at the front, or he doesn't want to. Be behind someone who will end up crashing and you will be part. So he prefers to waste his energy at the front. Sorry to use that word. He prefers to stay at the front to waste the energy there. But mind you, this guy has a teammate. That's, if you can see one blue here, there's one teammate there. There are about 4 teammates of his behind. They won't show themselves in front here. Same as these guys. I don't know why they are here, but they have someone here. So anyone can be in the front. It depends on where you want to be.
Let me just add to what he said. As he said, just like soccer where you have players, with cycling, every team has 8 cyclists. Among them, you have the top rider. So the whole team rides for their top rider. They protect him based on the team strategy. So you have those who probably are never going to call them the donkeys or the mules. They do the difficult work. As they say, when you have to go against the headwinds, they come in front and protect their lead riders. So it's all about team strategy. So when you see somebody in front, probably it's a team strategy, probably they want to drag. So it's all about the teams and how they deploy their strategy. If you want to be in front, you can see there's a whole team. You don't leave your lead rider to go alone. So at times you see 8 people, the lead rider will be in the middle, but also have to protect. It's all team strategy. So
see
the team strategy yes. But generally, that is the way it is. Yeah.
So can I ask you to also speak perhaps about the types of athletes within a team?
Yeah, no, isn't that? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I was fortunate to cover the Tour de Ghana 2012, 2013.
Okay, the Cowboy Tour de Ghana. Yeah.
And every team had 6 members.
Yeah.
We just mentioned that
8. The rules changed. The rules change. Yeah.
What was it then?
Every year the UCI brings out new rules. So I know it was 7 when I started. Following cycling. That was in 2016. It was up to 7, but then at the Tour de France level, it's now 8. In a team, you can be the Tour de France team. There are World Tour teams, there are pro teams, there are continental teams. The World Tour is like the Champions League. They are the top. Every big race they are there. Then there are UCI continental teams. They must be invited to be in the big races. So like the Tour de France, like three of the continental teams will be invited to join the World Tour teams. Every team has about 30 riders closer, so they select the best 8 to represent them. So every year the UCI, the rules change.
The other thing as well is, so UCI for certain global rides, they require that the minimum 8, right? They make exceptions, they allow the national federations to make exceptions for national races. So we know that in Ghana, teams may not have up to 8 people because of how uncompetitive the sport is. So they may allow 6 or even allow 4, depending on. And then the national federation can make that exception for that specific race and still allow people to partake, right? Because in certain jurisdictions, you may not have as many cyclists in there, so they make that exception. But you always know way in advance. The teams know the minimum number of cyclists. If the minimum, for example, in this race was 4, you can't bring a team for 3 people, right? It has to be 4 people. Right? So they make exceptions for different races or countries.
Once those exceptions are equity, who are representing as bonus.
Well, that's exactly it, right? Because you know in advance that this is a minimum number, you then train accordingly. You then choose your riders accordingly. So if you're already a team of 8 and the race is only a team of 4, you probably choose your best 4. Like you choose your strongest and your everybody domestic and things like that. But you make that decision. And that's why they let you know way in advance. So when you're training in accordance.
And also those in the teams have special abilities. You have the climbers. So out of the 8, you have those who are mountains. So when it's time to climb the mountains, they come in front and then they lead their team in terms of competition. You have those who also sprinters as well. You know, so the team is like a collection of different cycling skills, just because of the way the cycling is mountain stream. So you have all members of the team as special capabilities to enable them to, you know.
Okay, so yeah.
The slide before this, you explain about the blue guy.
Yeah.
See, one thing I realized those time was that some of them want to climb the stage. You know, they award them who will be able to cross the line.
Yeah.
So always the others want to break away.
Okay,
Then,
so I'll get to that in the next slide. Let's continue to the next slide. Then the question. So, like in the peloton, once the whole bunch start together, let's use the Osagyefo Criterium. It's not a mountain race; it's flat, and it goes round. So it suits every team knows that it suits a fast finisher who is a sprinter. So a fast finisher is a sprinter. The one who can climb mountain wall is a climber. And those that do the hard work in front, those that do the pulls when there's a breakaway, those that chase to go, they are the rollers. It ROULEUR. Yeah. So this was the national champ. This picture was the national championship, Ghana national championship in Ho. It was in June. So looking at this picture, this guy, myself, we are all in one team. That route, the finish is mountain. It has a lot of climbs in it, so it suits someone who can climb better. I am not a better climber than one of in my team. This guy is not a good climber. This guy is not a good climber. I am a good climber, but I'm not good as the other guy. But he was in the breakaway. So the breakaway is in the peloton. The peloton we spoke about, the whole bunch. When 2, 3, or 4 people jump clear from the peloton, it's called breakaway. Those guys are breakaway. And if those guys are ahead, maybe a minute from the peloton, and another guys try again to jump from the main peloton to go and join them. Once they are in the middle, they are in between the peloton and the breakaway. They are called chasers. They are chasing to be in the breakaway. And the bad people, we don't talk about them. You can put them in the bus, or you can park them somewhere. So this race, it suits one of my teammates who is good at climbing. So he was gone in the breakaway with 3 other guys. So there were 4 in the breakaway. So we being here, we are in the peloton. This is the peloton. The breakaway is gone. We are making this guy work now. We don't have to. Any of us don't have to come in the front. We all have to stay behind these guys. We have to let them take the win for us. We have to sit in. If they work hard and they catch the breakaway, then we can also move. The strongest from here can move, because the breakaway is tired. They've used more energy than we have, and we have had enough rest because we have sat behind their rules. You don't have to come in front to do anything. Once you are there and the person in front of you is suffering, calling you, hey, my friend, come. You say, bah. You let the person wait. So, and the rest happened that we didn't get the breakaway, and unfortunately my teammate came second. It was a good result though. But another team, the guy was solo. He came alone and he used his mind. He was in the breakaway and he won. It's like, okay, so this is a perfect scenario of breakaway. So this is the peloton here. This is the main peloton. These guys you see here, bled at the back, they've been dropped. They don't care about them. They are useless. These guys are the main thing. And in here, some of the teams in here, they are not there for the win. They are not because this is like a stage race. It goes up to 8 stages, 10, 21 stages. So some of the guys you see in the breakaway, they are not in for a win. They are just there to display their sponsors, the logos of their sponsors in the breakaway. So you see that the last 10, 15 kilometers, they'll be reeled in. And the winner will come from here. Mostly fast finishes, that's what happens. They can let these breakaway guys get like 5 minutes, 5, 10 minutes lead. In the last 10, 15 kilometers, you see them lined up. Every team has lined up, sent one person in front, one roller in front, one roller in front, and they work very hard to reel these guys in. And these guys, they know themselves that they are not, I mean, they are not going in for the stage. They are just there to advertise. It's the whole idea of cycling is kind of advertisements at the Tour de France level. So once they get ruled in, they just move to the back. But sometimes these guys are unable to rule them in quick, the timing. So any of them can win the race. Yeah. Okay, that's the end. Yeah.
Yeah, those behind the
Go back. Yeah.
who are supposed to, who are not part, who are not part, within the relevant the course of the race.
Yeah, there is if it's a stage race, there is a time limit for it, a time cut. So let's say after once the first person cross the line, after 45 minutes, I don't know every race and the time, but after 30 minutes or 45 minutes, if you are not there, the next day you start the race. Yeah, that is the next day your name will have a tag of DNF. Did not finish. Did not finish. And if it's a stage race and in the morning maybe you are sick or you crashed the previous day but you were able to finish, the next day you don't start, your name will have a tag of DNS, did not start. So there's DNF, meaning the person didn't finish a stage. So you are out of the race because you didn't finish a stage. Then DNS, the person didn't start.
At the point when you realize that you're out of
the time limit.
Yeah, the time limit.
Yeah.
You back out.
So you just ride to the finish line and you pack your things and go.
Yeah, and also see some of them to fall there because they are riding for a purpose. So probably he's going to lead the team through the mountain stages.
Yeah.
After that, he just drops and stays behind. He's happy because he's performed his function for the team. So he's not strong enough to stay with the peloton, but he will drop back and finish the race. He might not end the point, but then he's done what the team expects him to do, which is to lead the team through the climb. And the end points too, like we have different, like the king of the mountains, who is the one who, but there are different stages to end points. So the king of mountains is the one who probably earn more points through the various mountain stages, and then you have the sprinters and all that kind of stuff. So it's more like.
So
in a situation where one doesn't finish,
yeah,
the next race doesn't mean the team will start with the manship.
Yeah, with the man shot. Yeah. If it's a stage race, so Osagyefo is a 1-day race. Yeah. So that one there is no kind of like a time limit on it. You just need the first 10, first 20 people. Once you come after that, we only want to know your time, the time you made on the circuit. But if you feel like, look, I've been overlapped 2 times, you have to be packed out because it a criterium. It goes round, the same place. So once you've been overlapped, you have to pack out. You can't be among the guys because you are short of 1 lap and you can't go with them. You have to be out. So Osagyefo doesn't have this out of time limit. And since it's a criterium, my team, for instance, we are going to work for, the fast finisher. We are not going to work for a climber like me or something. But if I should have a chance and go alone, maybe 3 laps to go, if I should be able to break away, then I have a chance. But if not, and the whole peloton stays together, we have to make sure that no one escapes. We the guy, we have to, let our leader for the Osagyefo stay in. Then we will do the work. Any breakaway, anyone who tries to attack, we counter the person.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those behind the peloton,
yeah,
there's no way that they're going to enjoy any reward, even when the team leader wins.
That's within the team. That's agreement within the team. No. We don't want you there. You are a lazy guy.
You have the team, you have the best, like the number 1 is the Tour de France. They also have the team awards, so you have the best, right? And you have the best team.
Yeah.
So if you might not win the stage and you do your work well for the team, the mountains, you also uplift the position of your team as one of the best cycling teams for the tournament. So
there are also financial rewards, right? Yes. So especially for reasons like Tour de France that they give to the team. Think about it in football, like Ghana will get some participation fee. If you get to an advance, they will give a certain amount of fee to the team, right? Of course, the strikers, the goalkeepers, they tend to be the stars. And so maybe post the event, they then get sponsorships and advertisement opportunities and that they make more money outside of it. But then the organizers of the event give the team the winnings, right? And then they know how they're going to share it between themselves. I'm sure the contract will dictate who gets what percentage and so on and so forth.
I'm thinking about having maybe a Public friendly, the fan who's watching you, and then you are behind the peloton.
I'm sure they know the role. It's like I'm sure they know the role that their people play.
Okay, please, any further question?
Yes, I'd like you to speak about. I think there's a question.
Yeah.
I also wanted to know, is it possible that in probably the finish line you have about 2 or 3 members of the same team?
Yeah, there is. Mostly it happens. If it all depends on the training you guys do as a team before the race. So if you train hard, some of the guys cannot maintain, top speed like 45 kilometers per hour for like 10 minutes. So if the whole team can maintain that kind of speed, you can break away. And once you break away, a team of 3, the same team, you are 3 in the breakaway. All of you can come 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it depends on the work you do. Yes, sir.
So, in races of such nature,
Yeah.
always there has to be one who's got the pace, who is a fast finisher, if I get you right.
Yes.
That is moving as a team.
In a team, yeah. There are teams that they don't have maybe a fast finisher. They have someone who is, solid in the breakaways, who can create breakaway and go solo to win. They have someone like that. But in our team, for instance, we have a climber, we have a roller, we have a fast finisher. Yes.
So at what point those who keep to showcase their sponsors very definitely.
Once they are real, once these guys are serious and they want to win, once the winner, a team from here wants to win, they will reel them in. Yeah. There is no time. Everyone wants to win. Yeah. Please, any further question?
So, just before we move on to the next session, I wanted you to touch on 2 things. One is jerseys, the color of the jerseys.
Yeah.
And then maybe talk about the names of the international competition that happen both in Europe and Africa.
So, the Grand Tours, every Grand Tour has a unique leader's jersey. So, the overall winner is based on the one who finished the whole 21 stages with the best time. So, let's say today you crossed the line first, 3 hours. The one behind you, 3 hours, 2 minutes. So the one who finished with the lowest time, they accumulate the time. So the lowest time is the winner. The Giro d'Italia, the winner wears pink jersey. The leader. From stage 1, the leader wears pink all the way. It changes. But the overall winner is pink. The Tour de France, it's yellow. The winner is yellow. Then the Volta España is red. And the Tour de France is the main one. So let's talk about that. The leader wears yellow. The best climber, the one who climbs best, wears a polka dot. It's a white jersey with red dot on it. That's the best climber. Then the green jersey is for the fast finisher. So you see the person in a green jersey, but then if you look at the list, like the profile, the person might be like the 100th or 123rd on the list, but he has a green jersey. He is not focused on the mountain stages or the general classification. So then the youngest wears white. That's about the Tour de France. But the other Grand Tours, it changes. So the one day stages, that one, mostly they don't award jerseys. Just you finish, you climb the podium, and there you go, you take your prizes and you are gone. It's only the World Championship that you wear a rainbow. The winner wears a rainbow jersey. So if you are the world champion in every race, your team will be wearing, let's say, blue jersey. But only you, if you are the world champion, you will have the rainbow jersey on your bike, on your jersey. You'll be the only one standing out in your team. And same as the country champion. So let's say I'm the country champion for Ghana, which I'm not. And I'm riding for a world tour team, like Team Sky. They have a blue jersey. So the whole team, everyone is in the blue. They will design a jersey with the Ghana flag, which shows that I'm the national champion. So I'll be standing out the whole year. If I'm able to retain jersey, I'll still wear the jersey. So that's about the jerseys. Yeah.
So all the 8 members of the team,
Yeah.
in Tour de France, are
Yeah.
supposed to wear one color.
Yeah, one color. The only exception is if one is the world champion or there is a national champion in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how is the jersey color selected before the commencement of the race?
So every team they are open to choose their own design. Every
I'm
team.
talking about the colors.
Yeah.
How are they selected before you commence the race?
For instance, if your team jersey is yellow, like the whole team jersey is yellow, for that particular time, that 21 days, you'll be asked to look for a design which is different from any of the other teams, which is not yellow. So you, the 8 cyclists riding for the team at that Tour de France, you won't wear your normal team jersey, but you have a unique jersey for that particular period. So it doesn't clash with the leader's jersey. Yeah. So always the leader's yellow will stand out. The leader's green jersey will stand out. Then the youngest white jersey will also stand. Yes.
All right,
Okay.
great. So thank you, Sule. This brings us to the end of our second.
And I'm a member of the Gladiators Cycling Club. So we're going to talk about the Gladiators, who we are, and how we came about, and why Osagyefo, and how the race is going to happen. So first of all, we have 3 main objectives. That's our core mission as Gladiators. So we promote healthy lifestyle through cycling, and then we promote cycling in Ghana as well as a sport, and then we do a lot of charitable works. Yeah, so we're a friendly group. We ride every Saturday, and we have people from all walks of life coming to join us every Saturday. Every time we have new people joining us. Next slide. Okay, so we Gladiators, we organize various types of cycling. We have the slow riders, like the beginners, coming to join us. So they do a loop on the Legon campus, which is a very friendly environment to cycle. We have family day rides. We have parties. We also have a ride out of town. Sometimes every week, most holidays we ride out of Accra. We ride in and out. Sometimes we ride out and then we sleep over and then we drive back. So Gladiators, we're a local and international mix. We have a lot of experts joining us. So yes, you can always join us on Legon campus on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, 7, 8. When you come, you
Holidays.
see any riders around, you just act like they are Gladiators. You can ride with them. We have so many routes in within. You have all the terrains. We have the flats. We have the circuit. We have some climbs and all that. We have off-roads on Legon campus. So you can always join us. You can also follow us on social media. Just type Gladiators Cycling Club or social media. You can find us. Next week.
I like the energy. So before we move to the next slide, I think we're going to jump into what we do and think about how we evolved, how we became Gladiators, how long we've been around.
Okay, sure. So Gladiators has been in the system or been in the country and doing things for a little over 5 years. And we started 2018 January when enthusiastic cyclists from different cycling clubs met on Legon campus and decided to do something which will promote the sports and also just have fun and ride together on our bicycles. So most of the time, we're always in our air-conditioned cars, driving to work, being in the buzzy traffic in Accra and all that. So yeah, this is a getaway moment for us to also socialize, network, talk business sometimes, and just get on with life as usual. You can have a lot just riding your bike on Legon campus. See some fine nice girls, meet some fine men, meet some fine business people and all that. So that's how we came about. But then the main objective was to promote cycling and also exercise every Saturday or every weekend. So yeah, that's how it came about. Yes. So yeah, we've been in the system for like a little over 5 years, and we've done so much. We've impacted the cycling fraternity in Ghana. We've organized races. We've done a lot of charitable stuff. We've supported some orphanages, we've supported schools and extra things, but I'll go into that in my future slide. Yeah, so these are some of our charitable works we've done so far. And this happened about 2 weeks ago. We cycled from Accra all the way to Peki Senior High School to donate some bicycles, some used bicycles, some of the students there who walk miles to get to school to study. And as you know, students have to be refreshed every morning before they can accumulate some knowledge in their head. If you walk a long distance, by the time you get to the class, you'll be sleeping. So this is some of our good works. We've been giving out bicycles to many schools. We've cycled from Accra to Tamale and all those places, giving out bicycles. As you can see here, we donated 70 bicycles to 12 schools in the north. This is what we've been doing throughout the year. Okay, so I'll talk about initiatives, but these are some of the work. This is Lamisi project. We're trying to build a school structure for a remote area in somewhere around after Shah Hills there. This woman founded a school for the kids in the village who are just walking around when their parents go to the farms. They just don't have anything doing. They just be loitering around. So she gathered them under the tree and started teaching them and all that. So we try to help her to set up a good structure, and then
provide some school book stuff so that they can set up a new school and help the kids to have a good time. So yeah, over here you can see this is Black Unity Ride. This came from our international collaboration with a cycling group in UK who came down to ride with us about a few months ago, and they donated a huge sum of £10,000 to Vida Cycling Program. Vida Cycling, they've been gathering girls in a village in Apegusu in Volta region. She's been trying to help young girls to stay in school and also support them so that they don't drop out of school because of this social pressure, getting pregnant, getting married and all. So she's been helping them. So most of them are into cycling as well. Last year, since we started Osagyefo in the past 2 years, they've been participating in all our rides and they are pretty getting there. They're doing so well. And they're just 12, 13, 14-year-old girls doing 80 kilometers, 60 kilometers on the bicycle, which is very impressive. So this is some of our good works. Even this is just a little, but we have more coming up. Please let's go to the next slide. All right, so these are our main initiatives as Gladiators. We have a Gladiators Pro team where we're able to scout some young talented cyclists and then support them and cushion them for the cycling competition in Ghana. So they mostly represent the Gladiators anytime there is a major race in Ghana. This is KTT Ride, which is the co-founder is Cookie over here. Most of our rides and competitions in Ghana, you never see time trial, as Sully mentioned earlier on. So Cookie is the main brain behind KTT, which is an annual time trial competition. Last year we had a competition on the Burma Hill Road, Captain Mahawa, if you know that behind the Burma camp. We had a great competition there where people were just going on the loop, and one of our main guys got the trophy. But today I was speaking much about time trial, so I wouldn't go into it. So that's one of our initiatives to also boost the sports around. And then we have the Diverse Cycling Initiative where young ladies around, in Accra, we help to encourage them to enter into cycling. So this is like all girls affair here. When you're a lady, like your first time introducing you into cycling, maybe if you join the main guys, they'll leave you behind. But this is the right place for you where they're going to take care of you. They teach you all the pros and cons in cycling. They also support other young girls who are even in the national team who are struggling financially and other things. They come together as ladies and support each other. So this is the Diverse Cycling Initiative, also under the Gladiators umbrella. We have the Ghana by Bike, which is one of our main initiatives where we also cycle to Tamale and other far places. So Ghana by Bike also collaborated with the Black Unity Ride and the Ghana Cycle from America, where we went to Peki and all that to donate all those bicycles. So this initiative, Ghana by Bike, has also been pushing it out there, just as same as Lamisi, the last mile to school. So that's also an initiative that also gives out bicycles, school books, everything like the previous one I showed you that we're trying to put a structure together for a school around Ningokope and all that. So these are all wonderful initiatives, which was built under the Gladiators Cycling Club. And then this is the main one, the Osagyefo Criterium, while we're here. This is supposed to push all our cyclists here, give them competition so that they can also be training hard and become better and face the world of cycling. Because most of the time, there are few cycling competitions in Ghana. Everybody's talking about football, but who's supporting cycling? This is our little that we push in the system to also get the guys, give them competition. And so far, we have done tremendously just within 2 years of racing. This is our 3rd edition. And we already have transponded. We bring in technology and different categories of things in there. We're just a trailblazer with this Osagyefo Criterium. We've been able to give the biggest prize ever in cycling since I know, the best of my knowledge, that stands for forever. We've given the biggest prize so far. Kindly move to the next slide. Sure. So, all right.
Regarding the Gladiator Pro team,
yeah.
How many professionals have been produced for the national team?
Well, we've produced, cycling has a way of moving. People can jump from one team to the other, just like football. You can sign a player, you can sign a rider. So, yeah, we have some few. Sule is a product of Gladiator Cycling Pro team.
Currently, there are 2.
But in total?
2. In the past, I've not been to the national team. I've not been to the national team, but I can tell all my other teammates have.
Yeah, to add to what he's
Currently,
saying.
there are two in the national team.
I just want to add to it. Just like football, the fact that you played for Kotoko last year and now you are playing for, let's say, House of Lions and you've been called to the national team, Kotoko will say, okay, our player is playing for the national team because you've moved, you can be moving. So yeah, players or riders can be moving from teams. So it's very difficult to just say. But as you're saying, currently like 2 current Gladiator Pro cyclists are in the national team. That if that answers your question. Any other than the next one? Okay, so this is the main deal. This is why we're here. And this year's Osagyefo Criterium is still going to take place at the Accra Sports Stadium. We're still going to use the same length. Last year, I think we did 119 kilometers, but this time we're doing 129.5 kilometers. It is happening on Osagyefo's birthday as usual, the usual day, 21st September. So to register and join us, you need to register 250 cedi per entrance, like per cyclist who wants to join. The first prize for the male category is 15k, 15,000. The second is 7,000, and then the third is 5,000. Same as the females will not be doing the same distance as the male riders. The females are doing 80 kilometers, and then their first, second, third will be 10, 5, and 3,000 as represented. So we have Corey giving us a short code for registration, which you can use the short code there, *227 *6060 hash to make payment of your registration. And then there's a link that has also been shared on our social media pages if you want to register. So this is the flyer for this year's Osagyefo Criterium 2023. So this is flying all over our social media, like I said. So if you want to have more information about it, you can go to gladiatorscyclingclub.org and all this information will be shared with you. All right, next slide. You have a question?
Yeah. So as you rightly indicated, this is the third edition.
Yes.
And you mentioned about the prizes.
Yes.
I'm saying 15k, 7k, 3k, that is for the male and ladies. I mean, aside the participation fee, entrance fee, 250, how do you generate revenue to reward these athletes?
Okay, so most of these are done by some generous volunteers, some from the Gladiators Cycling Club as a whole, because we've always gone with the mind of making it happen with or without sponsors. So we do internal crowdfunding ourselves, and then lucky for us, sometimes we get some sponsors who also bring in things. But last year or last 2 years, we have Lucozade. Most of our sponsors give in one way or the other. Their widows might support us. Some give us airtime on TV to promote it. Some also give us goodies. Some also donated cash. And we have a very big cycling family in Ghana. So people pushing in. Some don't even want to be known, but they all support us. But it's mostly from the Gladiator Cycling.
So is there a likelihood, are we likely to see increments in the prize money going forward?
Yes, every year comes with its own challenges. So we do our cost effective, we run everything, and then we come up with it. So yes, every year comes with its own challenges. So next year it could even be more. Yes, was last year it was more than this, but this year it's dropped a little bit because a lot has to go in there, and you know our current state as a country. Thank you.
So, apart from the winner getting the prize money, is there any mentorship for the person to groom the person?
Okay, so with that question, I think Charles will answer that.
So Osagyefo invites teams and clubs to come and partake in the race, right? And you notice at the bottom right of the second flyer, it says endorsed by UCI and Ghana Cycling Federation. Right? Cycling Federation has clubs and teams that it manages who then decide to partake in the Osagyefo. Those clubs at those levels are typically then groom and train in order to participate in the race to win, right? What we do to enhance participation is we have special categories like the youngest rider, right, and the best female, just to encourage additional participation. Right, so while Criterium is not set up to necessarily mentor, by way of partnership with the federation, by way of partnership with the cycling teams that come, we encourage that level of mentorship and so on. Right, we have the pro teams specifically for that, right, where we groom riders with potential into becoming pro riders. So I hope that helps.
The riders involved in the Osagyefo are not restricted to Ghana. We have riders who come from Nigeria, who's in Togo, so it could happen that top 3 riders all come from a particular country, they don't necessarily represent. Yeah. So I just want to clarify that for a minute. It's not just about region.
That's actually a good point. It's part of the reason why we went with the name Osagyefo. Osagyefo is a continental name, right? And so we always encourage different countries to participate in the race. What I want to speak about in terms of how significant Osagyefo actually is on the world stage or becoming on the world stage is we've always seen Osagyefo becoming the equivalent of Tour de France in a few years' time. Right? In order to do that, we had to start putting in certain standards, so to speak. Right? We started off by ensuring that the prize money was healthy enough. Obviously, the more sponsorship we get, the bigger the prize money will be, the more people will include. And at some point, we start doing tours. So not just be one day, it will be multiple days. We have dreams, if not next year, the year after, to do a tour so that people can cycle from Kwame Nkrumah's hometown to say Accra to make it even more relevant, right? Because it's a Osagyefo race. And then, in about a decade's time, have Osagyefo competitions across the continent, not just in Accra, right? Now, because of the level of seriousness that we've put into this, and most of us here are professionals, we bring all of that expertise into the we're the very first club in Ghana to introduce technology for the finish line. Right? So last year, what it meant is, or the first year, what it meant was when people are crossing the finish line, you're watching the camera or your phone, and then the judges are timing it on their software. Right? Last year, we introduced what we refer to as the finish line technology. It includes providing chips transponded onto the bikes so that when they cross the finish line, the system automatically detects who came first, second, and third. Right? That level of standardization is what you see at the global level, right? And it actually caught the attention of UCI, so much so that they're now considering having in their calendar of all the events that happen in a year, Criterium will be one of those, right? And so this is a really big deal because we take it seriously. It'll be great for, and the reason why we invited all of you, right? Because these are the kind of milestones that attract eyeballs to an event, right? It's not while we are hobbyists, we love the world of cycling. We also take it very seriously and put as much effort, a lot of effort into it. So I wanted to just point that in there so you understand how seriously we are all taking this and how the world is coming on around the criteria. So it's here to stay year in, year out. As we have more and more sponsorship, the prize money will grow, the different categories will increase, and then we also have different types of Osagyefo. So right now we're doing Osagyefo criteria. We're doing Osagyefo tour, we're doing Osagyefo time trial, we're doing Osagyefo NTB, we're doing Osagyefo cycle club, we're doing different types of races. Right? We start off with the criteria, and it's probably going to be here to stay. But as we progress in this, and there's a lot of eyeballs, a lot of attention, and a lot of interest in the sport, so we can then go that into different activities. Right? And also help the economy. Have more people flying in, hotels, and spending on, who mentioned, the local economy, whether it's and so on. So that's essentially the plan for something. We take it World Cup. We put it that way. We take it World Cup. So we hope that Ghanaians, as we are, will see this, celebrate it, push it, so it becomes bigger. I mean, I would like to be on my retirement bed in 20, 30 years down the line and know that I was part of the team, the pioneering team that helped to make Osagyefo as equivalent in terms of world status as say the Tour de France. Right? And we can't do that. All right, now my pitch.
It's the requirement for becoming an organized competition by this year.
So there are no things that going to. We're not yet there, but we definitely are very close, and we definitely are far advanced a lot of other races that are taking place. One of the first things we did, we went to see the Cycling Federation and said, "This is a race that we're doing, but we'd like as much as possible to have the best standards possible." Now, if you want the topmost standard, you have to have a lot of money, because it also includes things like doping, right? Checking who's doping, who's not, and for that, it requires a specialization. You have to fly international experts to come in to verify. You have to have lab samples of the urine and things that take that test at certain temperatures. It requires a lot of investment, but we're not there yet. But when we approach the Cycling Federation, we mentioned to them from the get-go that we want to set a standard, right? And they look at all the requirements, and as much of them we try to fulfill, right? So in our very first race, we insisted that if you're overlapped, you're taken out. In order to adhere to that, we had the motorbikes going with the cyclists and being observant. As soon as you overlap, they take you out, right? And things like that. So there are quite a number of different metrics that we're giving to that. If you want to do a cartoon, for example, the cartoon, the distance that you're going is about 3-point-something kilometers per round. It means the maximum distance can be about 100 kilometers. If one lap was say 1 kilometer, then the total distance will be less. There are standards that the UCI has in terms of guidelines. We look at those guidelines and try and adjust the mechanisms, the way people not just participate, the means, the jerseys, the types of bikes. There's quite a number of different standards. So we approach the cycling federation, ask them, how can they help us, because they have that expertise, how can they help us improve the quality of the race, right? And if you talk to the cyclists or the pro riders who are taking it, they'll tell you that the cycling race has accessibility now.
All right, so just a little knowledge of what a criterium is. So someone would ask, why do you choose the criterium instead of the traditional races that happen around? I mean, criterium is a cycling race. It takes place within a closed course, and it's mostly have multiple laps, just going around the same circuit, similar to the velodrome, but the velodrome is mostly indoor and all that. So yeah, we chose to have a criterium because criterium is easy, it's logistic friendly. You don't have to travel all the way somewhere with this, our roads that are a bit challenging and all. It's easy to supervise and monitor and have a very successful race. Okay, so criteriums have sharp curves going in there, and it's mostly like very, very challenging and very fast paced. Yes. So as you can see, these are pictures of our previous criteriums we had. This from last year, 2022, where a Nigerian came first and all. So this is how it looks like. We mostly do it around the stadium, Accra Sports Stadium. We just go around and then use Airtel Tigo office to Accra Psychiatric Hospital to Ridge Hospital. Then we come down to Ridge Roundabout, and then we hit the Parliament Road, and we initiate that right curve to the stadium area where we start from. So yes, these are some of the reasons why we chose to have a criterium in Ghana. Secondly, we're the only criterium race in the whole Ghana. In all the federation calendar, nobody does that. So you can see we already done the time trial racing in Ghana. We're also taking on criterium, and we want to do more things in the future. Yeah, so please, the next slide. Yeah, so that's where my slide ends. If you have any questions, we can just finish it up right there, and then the next stage starts. Yeah. Thank you very much. My name is Kuku Van der Poy. I take my leave.
Yeah.
When you look at the congresses, talking about the steps and other cycling clubs, which of them are threats to gladiators and which individuals have you identified and try to put them the guy trying to qualify because I know since someone passed on like one of his statements is exactly yes, because those days he was just coming out, and I know about the one, yeah, and then Frank, those guys were we used to win the fight. So by now, from 2013 up to 10 years back, it should be top. It should be top. Have you identified these guys, and how are you? Because looking at yourself, the gladiators, everything seems to be organized, and everything seems to be professional. I know that you'll be there. How are you? Because you have the talent.
Right.
You people have plans of getting them to your team.
I'll answer that question in a very political way, right? In part because I don't have authority to speak on the pro cyclist side, right? You're right. I mean, there's always going to be talent out there. They're going to be in different teams. I think, and I'll answer this question from the point of view of the cycle as opposed to the point of view of the pro team, right? We've identified all of these talents in the country, right? And what we are doing as Osagyefo, as Gladiator and Osagyefo, is creating the avenues to help them partake in these competitions to help improve themselves. We're working very closely with the likes of the Cycling Federation to ensure that they appear in more international races, right? It gives them exposure, gives them opportunities to ride like that. In terms of putting them into our respective teams, I'm not sure I'm going to answer that as to whether we're going to deliberately go coaching for folks. I think what you want to do though is it's more strategic to look for young upcoming talent as opposed to the current talent, right? As you rightly mentioned, 10 years ago, these same names are still the ones racing today. Right? In 5 years' time, they won't be. I mean, age will catch up with all of them. And so our interest is going to be more around how do we encourage those who don't have any names, those who are very, very young, right, are most probably in school. And if you look at our pro team, we began that, right, with folks who are fresh out of high school, and then grooming them to become the next Kwame and the next name that we will. So that's going to be very important, right? So that's how I would go about answering your question.
Yeah, to add to it, I mean, we've been supporting them one way or the other. Because last year's Criterium, sorry, as you mentioned, he was involved in an accident and he broke his frame, and Gladiators rewarded him with a new frame on the KTT race. So we sponsor them and support them in every way we can to make sure they are still in the game. Yes, thank you.
Okay. And maybe, because when it comes to football, we have academies. Gladiators, you have one or two, planning to get one so that the young talents you spoke about was not laying down procedures that how to progress also gets you there. You have something like that.
So with the pro team, what we have is Bullet. It's called Bullet Foster, aka Bullet. So we support him with him finishing school and so on. He trains with Nuru Padi, aka Mo, who is a senior rider. He was also in the national team. So he trains Bullet. But it's not only about like every 3 times a week they do training. It's also make sure that his nutrition is right, and that the health is covered and all that. It's really not easy getting a team because it has you have to support in a holistic way.
So just to add to that, I mean there is a plan. This all comes down to funding, right? And it's easy to attract funding when the people who have the money feel that they'll get a lot more eyeballs. And we start from somewhere. When we started the Criterion the first year, the number of people who have interest in it versus now has always grown, right? We would like to get to a place where we have enough funding to create the kinds of academies that you're speaking about, right? Where we have, because if someone is going to be taking cycling full time, they're not doing any other work, right? That means you're taking care of their every other expense. And most of the guys that you see in the Tour de France, that's their full-time job. That's actually their full-time job. They're paid a monthly salary, and their expenses are taken care of. A minimum budget requirement for participating in the Tour de France is in the millions of dollars, right? Because of the amount of logistics and support that's required. We're not there yet, but in terms of our plans toward that, absolutely, we would like to have a very dedicated academy that grooms people. Outside of the pro team, we're already doing that. So this morning at 7 a.m., a number of our dedicated resources were at Legon, inviting new people who don't know how to cycle or who have just begun cycling to help groom them in terms of knowing how to cycle, right? So it's something that's already embedded in our DNA that we are doing, but we're doing it at the level that we can financially afford support to do.
Okay. I know your club, Cycling Club, were planning for the training, someone for the Tour de France, the Tour de France. Gladiators are you also who's your leading marksman? Who's the person that you are training? You are making sure that you are preparing him for the Tour de France.
They were not preparing anybody for Tour de France, but we can't afford to enter Tour de France. That's a fact. What we are doing, however, is ensuring that the caliber of people who are participating in the race become eligible for joining teams that can join, say, like the Tour de France. Cookie spoke about one person who's in our team today who we're growing and training towards that. As an organization, our focus hasn't necessarily been, say, the international tournaments specifically, or say like the Tour de France or the ones in other European countries or even in Africa. Our focus initially has always been to how do we ensure that they're best in the country, right? That then obviously exposes them to swimming, because what the cycling federation does, it looks at the different clubs, the different teams, and then picks the best cyclists from there to partake in that. Right? We want the names to be in there. So are we looking forward to having people groom and join into the Tour de France? I think that's a bit of a long shot. If you look at the records today, most people who are cycling in Tour de France began at a very early age, 10 years, 9 years, 11 years, right? Our guys are joining us at 18, 21. Amesa, right? Their bones are already fully grown. And so it requires us thinking very long term about entering something like Tour de France. There was an interesting post in the cycling group where some of the officials in the cycling federation are currently in Glasgow, right? And someone asked, "Oh, why are the Ghanaian cyclists all not there in Glasgow?" And if they were there, would we be able to win, first place today? Most unlikely that we'll win first place, because if you think about it in terms of football, if I just started playing football this year, no matter how talented I am, it's going to be very hard for me to do better than someone who's been playing football who's just been talented for the last 10 years, right? Because it takes a certain amount of time to get into that caliber. And so while we are not immediately looking to get someone, say, to the Tour de France, we definitely are looking to make sure that the folks who are cycling in Ghana are the best that they can be, and they can also participate in both national competitions, but also continental competitions. We've had, I think you mentioned, some of our team members competing in the Tour de Burkina, in the Tour de Rwanda, and so on and so forth, right? So that's our initial baby step. In a few years' time, we hope to have cyclists from Ghana, but also from other African countries, entering some of those larger competitions globally.
So to add to that, like the Ghana Cycling Federation, for instance, is not Tour de France is a whole like another level. It's just like you saying Kotoko should play Champions League. It's a whole like another level. So they work on cyclists from the like the Osagyefo Criterium now. It's kind of like a justify for them, for the Ghana Cycling Federation. So if there should be a tournament in Ethiopia, like the African tours, they know, I mean, who to pick. So you perform here, you are picked from there, and there are scouts from the big teams who come to Africa to scout. This year, for instance, there was this Eritrean guy. He was winning in Africa here. Then he went to France. Kwame Nkrumah. He was winning in Africa. He won the African Championship. Then he got a team, a pro team in France. He was there, and a World Tour team signed him. And he wrote Tour de France this year. He finished. So it could be that someone from here can get to the Tour de France level maybe next year. We all don't know. It depends on your performance. If you are able to win like the African Championship, which was hosted in Ghana in February at the Abuja. The guy who won, the Eritrean guy who won, he wrote the Tour de Rwanda, he won. And now he has a contract with the World Tour. I don't know if the signing will happen today or tomorrow, but he's already on the continental level.
Okay. All right. Let me follow up this. No, I have one question. When it's come to the clubs, do we have a cyclist who can compete at the Tour de France or the World level at the moment?
Yes. Yeah.
Who is it?
There are a lot of them. Foster is one of them. And there is this young guy, the one who came the national championship second, Prince Kulufia. Frank Akufu is one of them. Lawrence Ej is one of them. Isaac Saki is one of them by his goal. He can't, I mean, compete at the highest level. He can compete down here, but not at the highest level. Maybe he can be in the national team to Tour of Togo, Tour of Burkina Faso, the African countries, to help the young ones to control them with his experience, but not at the World Tour level. So they are young.
To add to what Charles was saying, which I think makes a lot more sense, is that there are a lot of people who could compete at that level. We just don't know who they are now. So the idea is to create an awareness around cycling and how they can be helped to get to that level. So we can identify them, increase the Ghana Cycling Federation's pool of people they can pick. And then by doing that, by virtue of increasing the pool, basically means that you're going to get, like essentially terms, one or two people who can compete at that level.
I forgot to mention.
And that's the stage we're at now.
I forgot to mention one of them.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm one of them. Like, not even on the serious issues here. Because
when you start talking about things like the Tour de France or things on an international level, there's a whole lot of things that get involved. I mean, people's eating habits, their sleeping patterns, when they train, all this has an effect on how good they become. Do you understand? And that requires funding. You know, and like you're saying, I mean, the Tour de France guy, you're talking millions of dollars, you know, just to keep them in those kind of competitions. You start with a smaller scale and then scale up.
Getting to the Tour de France stage, like the guy who won the Tour de France this year, if you read his story, he was working in a factory, and he writes a particular stretch there is a segment on it, a particular mark, like from the foot of the hill to the top, where he trains. It's called a segment, like in terms of cycling. So he's the king of that segment. He did the fastest time on it, and the team he rides for. They scouted him through the segments. Then they picked him. They checked his VO2 max, and it's one of like the highest level. He has like a bigger engine, whereby he can produce more power in terms of when it comes to cycling. So they signed him, and he became like he left his full-time job to become like a full-time cyclist. He's being paid so 8 hours a day, just like you being in the office, the bicycle in the office. But down here you have to work in the office, then find time to ride. Just like I do. I do it mostly in the evenings, from 4-5 p.m. Every time you see from Adenta to William Park.
Talk of bikes. I just want to find out in all this, because once upon a time, not long ago, in recent times, I found out that a bike, and you rightly mentioned,
Yeah.
some even more than a car.
Yeah.
Is cycling an expensive sport?
Yes.
Very simple answer is yes. But again, you know that with every sport and every discipline, there are levels of affordability, right? My gardener comes to the house on a bicycle. Right? His salary is not my salary, but he rides a bicycle. I also ride a bicycle, right? The amount of investment you put in it gives you a certain edge. Sule was speaking about carbon fiber bikes. Those are very expensive because they're very, very light and also very durable. If it cracks, there's no fixing it. You have to replace it. Spend $12,000 on a bike. If it cracks, you have to replace it. It's not for everybody, right? And so you buy a bicycle obviously at your level, right? And just like every discipline or every sport of interest, because you have a passion for it, you buy the things for it. If you're into football, you obviously be buying your football shoes. Maybe some are different. If you're in cycling, you buy, and if you're in swimming, you're buying your what's called your swimming, but also paying for membership fees, right? Cycling also has its cost, and I think the amount of money you put into it, one depends on your level of affordability, but also where you want to partake. One of the things that I have found to be true is that the more you spend on a certain type of bike, the better your performance, and that's just a fact, right? So this year we had gone for some cycling event in Europe, right? And then there was a really tall hill that we all started heading downhill. While there are people who were on the bicycle who were pedaling downhill and going very fast, I was just relaxed. But I overtook every single one of them. It wasn't because I'm doing anything different, it just happened that the quality of the hub on my bike was at a higher grade, so I can easily sail through, right? So the amount of money you invest in it obviously dictates how, the kind of, well, in your context, how much money you have. Is it an expensive sport? Probably a little bit more because there are far less people doing it. It's cheaper to buy a football today than it was how many years ago, because now football is almost everywhere, right? And so I do think that while it has its expense, everybody can partake at it.
And then if you look at it maybe from the club membership point of view, like we ride together, right? If your bike is of bad quality, you cannot, be part of it. So obviously you invest a bit more in your bike, so you're not left behind easy. Or you just have to train harder to ride as fast with your bike. That bike has not so good.
Okay, can I chip in a suggestion too as well?
Please do. We've actually essentially segued into the next session, which is actually a discussion like this to talk about cycling in Ghana, what options are in terms of. Please go ahead.
I fancy the whole philosophy around how you're trying to ensure that sport is developed in Ghana. I was very much excited when I first heard from you that we introduced technology at the finish line. What I'm going to employ is that sometimes we also place so much focus on the talent when we want a sport to develop. We forget about some other technicalities. For instance, football, we have a lot of talent in Ghana, but we have infrastructure deficit. And even the few infrastructure that we have, it's a bit difficult for us to manage the facilities and the infrastructure, especially the scoreboard at the class consume. Because for so many years ago, I find it very difficult to repair it. We are talking about having fiber bikes, and then when it gets damages, you have to export them. I'm employing that we also think about developing entire guys from our business also that we can be able to curtail some of these problems when they come. Again, this is the question. I was a bit disappointed too that the Nigerian came to win the Gladiators told Osagyefo. And I don't know what plans we are going to host the win.
Who's the bonus?
When the Nigerians won last year, I was happy for the simple reason that it gave a certain credibility to it, right? That the fact that we are the ones, we the Gladiators are the ones who organize the party, people did not win, means that we didn't cheat. Like there's a certain level of fairness. If you are good at it, you will win, right? Because it's Osagyefo, and I've heard of other Ghanaians who would obviously like a Ghanaian to win, even more so like a gladiator person to win, right? But more importantly, it's really about making sure that there's promotion of the event. The only way we can ensure that we eventually start winning Osagyefo races is by doing what we're already doing, grooming up the people in our team to become better at it, right? I like the point you raised earlier about the infrastructure, and I think that's extremely important. I'll talk about some of the ways that we've kind of contributed towards that, and then the ways that I think more work has to be done by club members, by the media, by regular citizens, but also those in charge of affairs, right? Where there's always an emphasis to invest in what will shine people's eye, and then once it's over, there's no maintenance, there's no incentive for it, right? We've always implored for safety on the roads, right? It's very, very difficult for us to cycle long distances and be safe, right? There's a lot of disrespect by the drivers, particularly the public transport drivers, the truck drivers, the taxi drivers. They don't respect you. They'll knock you off the road and they even drive over you and just go, right? And I think that comes from, I'm not sure where it comes from, but I have a feeling it comes from the point of view of an economic feeling that if I see a Benz, I won't crash because the Benz is expensive. But a bicycle, they say anybody can buy it, right? So they have far less respect for them. But these are the challenges. So how do we ensure that our roads are safer, right? Because if it's safer, and all of us will always say we're comparing Ghana to other jurisdictions, but that's the truth. When we go and cycle in Europe, Cookie will tell you she never wonders whether or not she's safe or not because you're on a road that's dedicated only for cyclists, right? There are no motorbikes, there are no cars. It's only for cyclists, and so you're rest assured that Charlie, you can feel safe on the road, right? But all the infrastructure things. So one thing that we and Kojo kind of helped lead this was how do we ensure that when we're building new roads, we take into consideration pedestrians more seriously. We take into consideration cyclists, right? I understand the Borteman road that they're constructing is now being considered to have a cycling lane for it, right? These are the kind of things that are needed. Imagine if the motorway had a cycling lane. That would be a really great avenue for people to be training, right? But today, it's difficult to do that level of training, right? And so I couldn't agree more with you that there's a lot of work that has to be done outside of the people talent, right? But the truth is, it only comes from money. It comes from a place of money, right? The more money that's available, the more resources are available, the more that can be invested into the infrastructure outside of the talent, right? So I couldn't agree with you more on that. It's just that we have to be more deliberate about advocating, right? And since we're on advocating, let me mention this point. When I joined, I started cycling in 2019, like when I joined the Gladiators. I asked a question at the time, and I still ask the same question, right? And this is probably a good place for us to discuss, is that when the national team, the national football team, the Black Stars, they do not win a match, the whole nation hears about it. And then there are 22 million coaches in Ghana the following day on the stations talking about what we could have done better and all that, right? Today, there are Ghanaian cyclists in Glasgow who have not won any competition. I've not heard a peep about it, right? And it's because the attention is not necessarily there, right? And then the investment today is largely in football, but rightly so because that's where the advertisers will get their most revenues from. I did a bit of reading, and it used to be called the Barclays Championship or Premier League, Barclays Premier League, right? This guy, before then, football in the UK was not what it is today. He decided he was going to invest a few billion pounds into the sport over a period of time. and just took it on and did that, right? That investment paid off, right? It takes a certain investment to push it to a certain level. Today, MTN has 95% of the market. I work in the fintech industry, so I'm very familiar with it, right? MTN is a leading organization. The reason they're a leading organization is not because their brand is nice and it's yellow, and it's not because of that. Because when they started that whole advertisement of Ascanway, right? When they started for years, 3 years in, they kept on pumping money in, while nobody else was pumping money. They kept on pumping money in. Every single person who's on Momo today has actually been physically to an MTN office. 18 million of them. Imagine signing 18 million people individually. It's not like WhatsApp that you can just download it on your phone. You have to sign on people, right? So it requires a certain amount of investment in. So that investment is not happening because there's no eyeball for it, right? And I think it's very, very important that as we, are those of us who are passionate about wanting to hear things outside of just football, give some airtime to this, or give some, and not just I'm talking about the media per se, but in our everyday lives, right? Today, because I started cycling, all the officers, all the executives in my office now cycle, right? My kids cycle. Because my kids cycle, their friends are also wanting to cycle, right? My daughter knew I was coming for an event today. She wanted to come here because it has to be cycling, right? But that's how we start creating the interest, because I do know that people who are investing into, say, football would like to also invest and diversify in other places as well, so we can also get returns on their funds, right? But it requires a really strong collaborative effort, right? Because, and until we get to such a point, nobody will ever say that, oh, the people in Glasgow didn't do well. Half the people on this table don't even know who the cyclists at Glasgow are. But we spent money going there, and I'm pretty sure come Monday morning, I'll not hear on the radio stations or on the online platforms and social media that, oh, Ghana did poorly, because nobody really cares per se, because we're not giving attention. But if we did give it attention, imagine we give it attention, right? It will be a different level of interest. In Eritrea, for example, over the period of years, they created so much interest in cycling that people pay to go and stand by the roadside to watch the cyclists going up and down. There's a reason why the Eritreans and why the Eritreans are now being, called into national and world teams, right? Actually, interesting fact for you guys: Eritrea, Rwanda, and Ethiopia, those three countries actually came together to groom and train cyclists. Because the amount of money required, one federation may not be able to do, but they came together, right? And they've been training. And ironically, if you think about it, all the marathons that are being won are usually won by the Kenyans and these guys, right? Because they're good at they're at an altitude, but they've not invested in cycling over the years. So they're always winning the marathons. But if now they're investing into cycling, you can be rest assured that 5 years from now, you see a lot more black people crossing the finish line at these races.
Just to add up to the points you just raised about coming to the collaboration. My friend here will attest to the fact that for when it comes to the media, it is not necessarily always about football. Media guys who, and for me, I've always maintained I have the opportunity of, learning on cricket, other aside football. Now, the difficulty I have over the period has been the various so-called lesser-known sports or federations. They are not forthcoming. And what I mean by that is, when we talk about football, today, I can pick a phone and call, let's say, Ket or Kreku or whoever. Oh, I need this info. Maybe I'm giving you this airtime from this time to this time. Appear. They are always on the go. They want to be heard. But when it comes to the other so-called lesser sports or least finance sports, you have to be chasing them. And Wallace can attest to it. Producers will be on them. You said this week. Oh, they will not show off. And in the end, they will come and portion blame. Oh, you are not giving us the needed time. You are not. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. Yeah. There should be that. Yes, synergy. We need this info. The Glasgow thing, there is a platform on it. I think Shaban posted. He's been furnishing some of us with what is going on with regards to Team Ghana, and others. A few are eager to know what is going on, but because over the period the flow of information hasn't been. Yes, so it's been a problem. And I will urge, as you rightly said, you've been in contact with the cycling federation. they should be forthcoming. They should be up and doing when it comes to information flow. Because the media, I mean, their time, you can't always be talking about football. It got to a point, Ghanaians were even tired. Yes, they don't want to hear anything football. But what is the other discipline? What are they also doing to ensure that they are also head or they are out there?
That's good. That's a good point there. I don't have the answer to it. I mean, you raised the question. I don't have the answer to it. I think you're absolutely right. Like, and I'm glad to hear this because I didn't know, that from your point of view, and that's why we're having this discussion. Right? From your point of view, what are the challenges that make it difficult for you guys to report on such events, right? So that's good to know. I think it's the reason why we are having this event today, right? So that it's not just, oh, we've sent you information, or if you call us, we will answer, but taking it a step further, right? And I think it really does boil down to two things. One is the caliber of the people in those sports, or those who are administering the sport. My full-time job is to create technology, right? I build technology, I operate at a certain level. And so if I bring my expertise into cycling, the presentation that you see will be at a certain level, right? And if someone calls, say, Cookie, she'll respond. Her full-time job is not cycling, right? And we'll give the information that's needed. So I do think that there's also a desire for certain calibers of people to enter those sports as well, right? Because if you have somebody who is shy or who's unprofessional, they don't understand the value of what it means when a radio station calls you for information, right? That is like a golden opportunity for you to sell for free, right? And sell and tell everything about the sport, whether it's swimming or it's this or that, So I completely agree with you that I do think that it requires a certain level of caliber, but also interest from the lesser known sports. So I think you have your hand up.
Yeah, so I think to what he said, I think one thing that has also been a challenge over the years has to be access to information. I sit here today and then probably I don't know all Ghanaians abroad. But because I have my super score, I have my football, I have my other score platforms, I'm able to pick out that NS Myanmar is playing at this time. I'm able to pick that as someone that has secured a move from this team to this team. When it comes to these sports, you don't have probably websites, you don't have software giving you this information. So probably my friend here could be a cyclist and he's joined the Gladiators. I have no background information about him. All I have is that he's joined the Gladiators. He'll be competing in this. I don't have background information. So it also makes it a bit difficult for you out there to put out information. It makes your information scanty. I remember during the World Cup period, even with that, and there was a time that I was working on a match report, and then I didn't watch the game, but I was able to put together something. And someone sent the screenshot, it's like, what's this scanty work you are doing? In the sense that the person is expecting you to get information, put all together, and then give it to him. They don't want the situation where the match is over, and then in 30 or 40 minutes time, you still not added the time the ball was scored. See, when you have access to some of this information, it makes much easier for your audience to also get along with some of these sports and then tag along.
It's great you brought this up because I actually had the same sentiment last night when I was going through I'm actually deliberately going through this when I was going through and I was working on these slides. So you see the amount of information I have on this, on the world governance versus say the local. So because the amount of information available online, right? And while we are, members of the federation, not necessarily to discredit them, but the information, they don't have a website that shows you how many clubs are members there, or now that they're in Glasgow and these are the teams that are playing. That information is on. So I completely agree with you that there needs to be a lot more effort by the sporting entities themselves to your point, be forthright with the information. Just make it out available there. Even if you don't want to be called and listen, at least someone can go online. Because I had to go online to find out all this information. And I went to the UCI website, I got all this and copy and paste it in here. There's no Cycling Federation website, right? I mean, Gladiators, we're now bringing back our website, but it's to your point around how do you make the information available, right? I couldn't agree more with you. Okay, were you going to say something around that? Oh, okay, sure, yeah.
Told you Osagyefo was assigned for it. Only the televised of mainstream media.
I just know what this year eventually.
Yes.
I don't have the answer. Maybe I'll leave the marketing team to.
It's in the budget to have your mainstream media. we are able to afford it. Yes. Media is expensive. So it's in the plan. Plan still to roll out things. The next couple of weeks we should be able to give a more differentiation. But historically, we've always had,
Yeah, I
we've
mean,
always had
multimedia.
snippets. We've always had snippets.
Yes.
Yeah. The answer to the question was outside of the free snippets that you normally get, because from a marketing perspective, you can't have the televised reel that is not a consistent flow over a period. The impact on the audience is just not there. Your target audience might actually miss those snippets that you put out there. So we're talking about paid airtime or paid TV time over 2 or 3 week period, many times across the day. So that creates that kind of top of mind. So yeah, we have a little bit of budget for that. And, the funds coming for it.
I think that many times we try to organize ourselves in this way, and we are in a snowballs. Try to a little extent how we can be able to get the eyeballs that we need so that we can be able to get other benefits too. Those who are looking for the eyeballs. During the media into small extent. I think that is the way out that it doesn't happen in very often, but it's a one-off event that you can be able to do it here. A friend of mine, very little guy of mine, learned how to do French commentary from Tour de France when it was televised and everything that he was following it. Out of this thing. Again, what I this with I have more experience so far as some of these things I'm saying. It is not that we don't have information. For information, we can be able to access the information sometimes, especially for the platforms like created like this platform. And be able to come from it, able to have information. And when cycling started initially, it started this, and it's not consistent. I'm very, very cycling courses. Media reviews of cycling. I started reading them because the sport is not consistent. I read some and I couldn't continue with some because I felt that this language. And sometimes we can also have information, but there's no incentive for continuation with the information we have. I remember forgetting one lesson. I can't remember, it was a media guy. He followed cycling. There is no. And when we started cycling, none of us had traveled before. We used cycling to tour people of you. We were so proud of you. Those were the incentives. So we realized that then there's something better in cycling too. We need to broaden your horizon when you follow cycling. Get to know other places. You can come and tell a very good story. So if cycling has some of these opportunities, I think that with the few media, you cannot have all of us. But the few media that you have, you can be able to work around so that when you are following the sport from the international level and other places, it embellishes the sports as well. You can be able to tell the stories. That witness is also part of this project of this platform. And very attention that it has now.
I think that's a very good point. And what comes to mind straight away is why can't we get a few of the media guys to follow Gladiators on the European GBI or the European or the Dubai GBI talks? Do you understand? Because they'll get a sense of, well, they'll be following the Gladiators, get a sense of what the Gladiators doing, but they're actually exposed to a much bigger arena. And it will make your reportage easier for you. So again, one of the reasons
what
for
he's saying is like sending for the UCI World Championship.
Yes.
Because I know that most of colleagues are following some other sports because they get the opportunities and advantages from some of these things. Because when it is FIFA World Cup, I remember a friend of mine got a serious visa because he traveled to Brazil when the embassy watched his passport. He realized that he was at the World Cup and he's a credible person. You understand? Yeah. And then he kept on traveling and then coming up with those information. But telling us of Eritrea and all that. You understand that if you see it for yourself, you can be able to tell the story
better. Yeah.
I think that we still have some genuine, very good guys there who, before on terms of this, able to do it and help the others.
I'll add something to what the number said. Following Cowboy Cycling Club. I remember 2011, the one that did the first training like this. Shaman and Shannon Mohammed trainers, Cowboy premises. From there, we developed interest in following the cyclists. So 2012, 2013, I was one of the main guys in reporting. I remember there would be like 4 reports in radio and TV. I do TV, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, right after fire, and I do TV. And then sports night as well. So 4 reports. And I have to make sure that I will bring the interesting stories and maybe those that will interview them on the roadside. And I can tell you that Ghanaians like cycling. I remember stage 3 from Asinfusu to Manse Asinfusu was easy. And we're doing live commentary on your sports, on multi-TV. And those people were watching Pure Sports on their shops and everybody came out from their shops, their homes, and then Asinfusu, where the commercial market was full of our spectators. And even Tamale, we're doing the criterium, the Tamale criterium was in Kofodia, Kofodia, Manfin, and Kro, Kwakai, Kofodia. Criterium wasn't even a downfall. A downfall to Pretford. Something, we will say, those farmers and one of you, they were everywhere. Even from Blue Jay to them. It's not easy. People are everywhere. We go and see criterium, go and see Asafo. Criterium. People everywhere. We're everywhere, just cheering up and that. What am I doing? I mean, Mohammed was with the Tamale team, fans. And I want to get to Tamale.
Organized by the Federation.
Cowbell, yeah.
So when we get to Tamale, everyone know that I mean, Mohammed will have to win the criterium because fans everywhere. People are giving him fans and you make sure that you win that stage.
So what changed? What
It's about involving the media guys, involving the media houses, see our editors, see our head of sports, talk to them. They will definitely identify someone to be part of the team. And when you are following, most of us, most of the media guys in United Football, we don't go to school, play football.
Right.
And throughout we develop interest on it. And then we knew all the rules. Through fast and whatever. But if you pick someone who doesn't know anything about cycling, how would you know that why does he go to the younger cyclists? How do you know that he doesn't go to the top moves? You may not know. So when you follow, you definitely develop an interest in it. And I remember after following it, when I'm presenting foreign sports, I have to make sure that all the fun story, I'll talk about union, I'll talk about response, do this. Because I totally developed interest for the cycling. I got to a point, 2014, Cowbell couldn't sponsor it again, and then there were no sponsor. From 2014 up to now, we didn't do the big one, the State 30. I think we spent about 16 days for doing all this from Accra to the same stage 1, stage 2, from Cape Coast to Kappa, stage 3, from same for to Kumasi, then we'll go and do Sunyani to Kintambo, then we'll look in Tambo to Tamale, then we'll go to Criterium, then we'll come to Tejima to Kumasi, then we'll go to Criterium, go to Guma, try and go all the way to Adamfo for my project. Then we'll do an or to trade fair. And we're done. So when you are following, you will feel like you are even taking part. Sometimes you have to bypass them and go and see those who are break away. You will be reporting. Report them. People develop interest. Even when we're buying things from the shop, when they hear always I do TV, I do on radio, you speak this. Do this. If you want to go down and other station, you have to invite him for their listen to a station. You know that way, call you to the studio, you go and talk about it, and like people are proud of seeing you doing this, but you don't know anything about it. All of a sudden, you are just coming out with all this. I remember on Sundays we used to go, just say we were talking about it, we used to go to cricket to dash water to go and follow cricket. Then we were able to know who is a bowler, who is a batsman, and innings and all that.
I have a question. So when you were covering these races, so who was paying you as a journalist?
It was the part of the sponsorship. We had budget federation, they talk about graphic, times, GBC, there is a GBC rep, it was a multimedia, Happy FM, yes, we were about 10 media houses. So everybody was reporting, they challenge, so they have done. They say, my stories are going on, especially those of us being ready. But they call us in the morning, in the afternoon, evening, and after that, in the evening, we go and chill in the town as well. We were able to see a lot of places.
You see what I was talking about?
So,
yeah, because the bit of consistency that initially when we were trying to convince our establishment to buy into that, they were a bit sluggish. But when we started the campaign, we realized that our audience were interested in it and that we had to do it. But they stopped at the point in time. And nobody had to go back that head. Yeah, so because we have already bought that time, we have accepted it. So we're not paying so much for that time during those days. But now, because it was not consistent, it's so happening, we need to fill that gap with something else. Yeah, initially when I had followed every sport. So when I was appointing him to go, he was a bit sluggish. But he had not traveled before, he had stayed in a car. And I'm sure that you understand why I brought him in now. Yeah. So I took him there. He was so excited. Even at that time, he was not reporting. But he had the opportunity, because he was traveling with the team, he was reporting consistently. Everybody knew that we had a producer, nobody has heard of him. He was reporting consistently, and people got interest. A bit of getting more on the eyeballs. But I think that cycling has also got some other departments in terms of the riders. We have backward riders and those who do gymnastics with. Yeah, I think that you also have to get a lot of moving on people in aesthetic design for the main events that you do also. Those aesthetic qualities of DSM also be of benefit to the
at the end of the day, it's all creating opportunity for income.
Yeah.
I
People want platform to be seen. People have come to me. I have one guy who writes one post and he's doing stuff. He writes
I'm doing.
Yeah. They come to me. They want to ask from just our roof. We should do something. So we show it to people to see. It's not about too much of the money or something.
That's a good point. And if I would liken it to something, I think I would liken it to women's football. I started following women's football when I was somewhere in the tertiary. And it got to a point, I wasn't even working in media, I wasn't in mainstream, I was just someone who was passionate about women's football. And then you have colleagues call you to brief them about women's Premier League results from the weekend because you showed interest in it. And till date, like I get calls from people in Takade. I grew up in Takade, so radio stations, TV stations, they call you and then they want you to give them updates, constant updates because you have shown interest there. And then sometimes it's a bit of credit to you because if I'm here and then I find Joyce was probably referring to me as a women's football correspondent, it also helps you. Once there's an opportunity in that area, you are seen as someone who could be called upon to talk about it. So I think it's a good point.
I was just going to,
for instance, there were two reporters on the phone at that time. Anytime I talk about cycling on radio, I see comments even on social media, people asking me to call them to do cycling conversation. They have memory of that past report. They did, yeah. I see people. I usually go, what do you mean by red jersey? What do you mean by yellow jersey? You understand? So people recall. So anytime they are not even around, I see people asking that, oh, call him more tired, I like to come in and be the cycling. It means that people have memories of previous events that they covered and they were following. So I think that with consistency can be able to galvanize a little bit. Few media houses that you'll be able to reach them.
I was just going through my gallery and I've seen some pictures 10 years ago. I can see Michael about that many times. I can see Mike from TV3, me myself, and then some more. We got some small boy 10 years ago. Small boy. Because here was at Anambo, or at least stage 10, Ghana based. And when you see all this, it brings back memory how fast we've grown and how experienced you are at the moment. Whenever you are being called upon to come and talk about cycling, you don't have to go and go wide.
So Tour de France should be on mainstream media, and then we offer the consultants not free, so that we put up a panel and they will do a little bit of discussion.
Once we're able to pick one person out of the country, we realize that the rest show interest because everybody also wants to travel. You get the travel experiences. So, look at the football. You know that World Cup, this last World Cup, my boss was like, oh, you know what, I have to go. So I was in Qatar and I enjoyed it. I have a lot of pictures. And people were like, oh, Charlie, you're this age. I was there. I really used to tease my wife. So I was in Qatar, I was at the World Cup. So I was showing her pictures.
So back then in 2011, I think 2011, when Cowboy Tour Ghana was happening.
Yeah, 2011, 2012, 2013.
Yeah. There was one that this guy won, Jamba.
Jumper.
Yeah. I grew up at Trefair here, so I watched that race.
Yeah.
Then I don't ride bicycle, so I developed the interest in racing. Then when I came to watch the last stage, then I started working after high school. Then I met this guy Isaac Saki, Shasha, one of the top cyclists in Ghana. I met him and he got me a bike. That's how I come outside. So I've always been looking forward to this Tour de Ghana, like not this small one, not this 2 day, 1 day. I've always been looking forward to it. And last year, I heard it in the air that it would happen. This year. And unfortunately, this year at the championship, and then there is a mini Tour de Ghana, but it's not happening like the first one.
13 stages.
Yeah, this is last year they did it 5 stages, but it all starts in Accra and ends in Accra. Cowboy Tour de Ghana. They are coming back in a way, but not in the bigger way like back then. And
Because
I know this year.
the main guys who were there, they left the company.
I know this year again they are doing the 5 stages, the mini one. It all starts in Accra and ends in Accra. So it happened. The date is not out, but I know it before they decided.
Sorry, I don't need to catch you, but sorry I'm late. Okay, I need to put something. I think it's very important. I think the cycling thing, Carvel, what they're trying to do is that because Accra is almost with festivals, anytime there's a festival at a particular place, I think they start attention.
Yeah.
That's what they do because resources are limited. And again, to the main man who was there, Mr. Foster, has left the place, and he had a key interest in cycling. So that's the kind they've reduced the sponsorship. TVC has taken over, but Carvel still wants to associate with the sponsors. So what they do is that they attach it to the favorite festivals in Accra. Numa will have a festival, they'll do it. Teshi, where there are a lot of people, they'll do it. Accra, next week, they're starting the festival, they'll do it. So that's how they're trying to change. I believe the level of cycling in Ghana, ever since Carvel left it, since we're doing it now a little bit, particular media stations trying to wake it up, say, okay, we can do it. But it's not easy with that sponsorship, not at all. So that's the scenario.
Yeah, so Chairman, as I was saying, it's a new convert, the development approach.
I joined the cycling and I've not been to like a multi-day tour. The multi-day tour I've been is 2 days. That's the one from Accra, Ho, and back. I've not been on there. I'm looking forward to that because that builds us up to the African level, whereby you can compete with the other African guys, and you can get a chance. I mean, if there's a scout there, you can get a chance to get a contract from there. So we, the cyclists, and we here, the Gladiators, we are also looking forward to that. But Osagyefo Criterium, maybe in the next few years, we are looking at getting to that level. Maybe start from as in Zulezu. Start from there to Accra. It will be like a multi-day.
Okay.
So it can maybe start from there, head to the northern part, and come back to Accra, ends in Accra. It can be Osagyefo race. Then it will be Osagyefo Criterium.
We also put those days we covered 10 regions.
Yeah.
When I even saw the black water. Like so we went there and took pictures, we went to the villages and we interacted with them and what have you. So it was a whole lot of experience. It was like we are tourists touring the country. When you go to Tamale, the Tamale weather, people are riding, 2 o'clock people are riding, and you can't breathe. You go to the car and go enjoy the air conditioning, then you come out. When you come out, it's a question. You go to our hotels, you go to the pool, we'll be swimming and what have you. It's a whole lot of experience.
So, Chairman, it's possible we can do it. But Kwame Chase private jet is there. It's expired. You cannot go outside. So we can use it.
But there are a few races coming up, which I personally, I'll be glad if you guys will, cover it. I mean, in a way, the races are coming back because when I started racing in 2016, there was no, any big race in Ghana. It was just in 2019. 2018, there was one race, Cowbell and the Cowbell. Then I was working with them. So I went the Cowbell guys and we had one race. Started from the Independence Square all the way to them, back to Independence, finished at Teshi. Then the festival race is that one, it happens every year. But it's not consistent. Like the Teshi, they are constructing the road, so it's not every year. Since they started doing the road, Teshi race hasn't happened. It happened around the Lekma road, but it's a small one. It's organized by a club.
So I think this happened when Festus Tete left Carabao. They transferred him to Tamale. Nigeria. Then the new marketing manager, he veered to entertainment. So they did the longest table, something, and then the balloon and the air thing. So he left sports to entertainment. So they decided to do challenge. That was why they were doing just a daily thing. So the festivals, they go and do it. So they left the main tour by stages. And then they were organizing just challenge. So they go to Northern Part and do one, the medal bites, they come to Marseille, do one, come to Accra. So the year they were doing three. And then the other festivals, they wherever they would get people, they added. But the stages, one is because consistently for 16 days, you were having people to talk about cycling. Morning, evening, afternoon. But everybody wants to follow the story when they were supposed to go on.
But compared to that time, I know back then there were no these 1 day races. There were few.
Yeah.
Like so in 2018, it was just one race that happened in Ghana. 2019 there were few, but just this year about 5 races have happened already in Ghana, and there are more to come on the calendar. So I am seeing it that like it's picking up. So it's time, to go back there again. Hopefully it get there with the help of you guys.
You know, what I say is about consistency and getting period of time to talk about it. Like we know that football calendar is about 10 months. So when it starts, like EPL started today, yesterday, you go up to last week of May or second week of May. So 10 good months. We're going to talk about it every week. So like they told you Ghana, which covers about 13 stages. Now you'll be able to get media houses talking about it 16 good days. Let's say when we're doing it every 3 months or every 2 months, or every 6 months, they know that the period of time, 16 days consistently, TV, radio, because it also creates competition among the media houses. When they realize that so definitely doing it, then a lot of websites now, social media influencers, there will be an interesting stories that people will be able to talk about it, post it on their IG and other social media channels for free. Once we're creating it, people are there for content. So if they will get the content from you, why not? Because I remember the Cowbell used to organize the Cowbell Day. So they will mix some of their Cowbell Day, their Taipei, whatever. People will come basically to drink. Yeah. Someone will take 3 times before, and then they will come back, come and take it. But definitely they will go and watch it. Yeah. That's when you get a crowd. When they are giving awards and a lot of people will also come in. But they know that definitely they will get Cowbell.
So whose job do you think it is to revive the cycling?
Yes, I've had a couple of meetings with the Federation. They really want to push, but once again, it comes to the sponsorship. And I think the administrators are doing well. So if you can collaborate with the association and other cycling clubs, you can write marketing proposals. Now we are the DHL premises. DHL can do something for us, but they are part of your sponsors. They can do something. I know that it's capital intensive going to organize that because all the cyclists you have to go and sleep at good hotels, media guys, officials, need cars to transport the bikes. When you some other place, you need medical team, those that will have accidents, those that will crash, medical team to look after them, to need ambulance, the MTT, they also have to follow and create way for the cyclists to go by.
I think that first of all, the institutions, the managers of the various institutions need to have interest. That is when they wait for some of these sports. And with the presentation we just did, I realized that it's a club, and then maybe Saturdays do cycling at Stable. So to be a comment to YouTube, we invite some of these heads of media institutions to join you. And you see that a little of people like you, like me doing cycling, you'll be interested. I watched Jeremiah on YouTube, a certain man who was about 20 something acres of land, and he has built a house on it. I think that even with that lengthy or that big, vast land, you can be able to have a cycling van around his premises if he was in a club like this. Understand? He could have been, because he has the land. And so those events would have been held even in his house, and you'll be proud to be watching it from his house. Understand? And then when people also do some of these facilities, you want people to see how embellished the environments are. And then so when they draw people, the attention comes to you. So first of all, let's get closer to the institutional heads, and then let them have interest in the group. Not even in cycling, but the group for the first time. Then gradually they develop interest for it as well. All of us, we develop interest maybe, but we have close friends who were interested in this sport. We develop friends from that. We're also encouraged by people who were interested and also called us relationship. They called us at home for first time talking about cycling. We are so much proud of it. Then we do cycling. Some of them they told you do cycling. What else is supposed to be cycling? There's a certain pastor who comes on our platform. The last day he went it, he sent me a message. I forgot. I didn't see that message. He sent me a message that he has done cycling before, and that he wanted us to call him. I didn't see the message. Like, when I got to I saw it. You understand? So we shouldn't remain in a small box. We should also have new concepts.
I think I can chip in this. I think the catch them young syndrome is also very good in that part of the world. If we want to take cycling to the high heights, I think it's about time we tell parents that they should let their kids ride bicycle at every level. You can't go to the schools and give them bicycle to ride to school. Probably the reason why they're going to school is to learn first. So you have to start from our various homes that people need to ride bikes on maybe on weekends. And go to a ride bike. We will encourage people to get their interest. When families and individuals get their interest, the same individuals will take the corporate, will go to the companies and tell them why they should come invest in cycling. The basic thing is that let's start from our goals and to carry through. That's the best thing we can do now and then. Because if you're waiting for the lives of this gentleman, those who have gone up already to come and sponsor them, how about if they did the same? So let's generate the interest in our various homes. We'll carry through.
Agreed. And on that note, we're not ending the session, but there is a break. Lunch is ready. I'd like us to continue having this conversation. I think this is where it helps us understand the multifaceted complexity of promoting a sport, where it requires knowledge, require parental interest, requires safety on the roads, requires the investment in the infrastructure. There's just so many moving parts, right? And we're eventually start from somewhere. But I think the one I'm going to take away is the consistency, right? The consistency in sponsorship. Because it's very easy to stand somewhere and say, the media is not doing anything about it. But the reality is, the media also have their objectives, right? And there needs to be motivation, there needs to be sustained interest, there needs to be a certain level of professionalism. So when you call someone about the sport, they're not just giving some 2x4 answer, So it definitely is multifaceted. But I would like us to continue having this conversation in the lunchroom. Right? So lunch is served. Let's proceed from there. But before we set up, I want to thank every media house for coming. It's very important to us that you took time off your calendars to come here. Not just because you know us, I know you know us individually, but the comments that you guys have shared, right? You guys obviously started a lot of the cycling coverage before I joined the cycling events, right? And so that you've had interest for a very long time. So I want to thank you and keep at it. But for now, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to have lunch on the other side and we'll continue having the discussions. But for the sessions in here, we're currently done. So thank you very much. As you all know, the Gladiators events, our flagship event, Osagyefo Criterium, happens on Kwame Nkrumah's birthday, 21st September, and would obviously welcome you guys to come as well. But outside of our annual events, I think one of our take homes is to invite yourselves to come ride with us, invite other stakeholders also to come ride with us, so that it becomes more of an everyday thing, not once in a while something that's happening and we're going to cover it. So thank you very much, and let's proceed to the restaurants.